Hey everybody, it's David Bott here from Outside Our Bubble, and coming to you today to talk about how to set up the Raspberry Pi Zero to be used for EV4RV. That's right, a walkthrough tutorial on how to do the installation of the software for the Raspberry Pi. That is the EV4RV software that you'll need in order to charge your electric vehicle from your motor coach. That's right, you heard me right. You'll be able to charge your electric vehicle right from your motor coach without blowing the breaker, thanks to some software developed by Michael Kidd, who I worked with in regards to some features and things like that. And it's finally to the point where he's going to release it to the masses. And I'm really excited to have been working on this and to be able to get to the point where this is our Tesla that, as you can see, is being charged by a level 2 charger that is running off the same pedestal that the motor coach is plugged into. And the motor coach takes priority in power use, with the rest of it going to the level 2 charging system. So in any case, this is going to be a tutorial on how to do the installation of the Raspberry Pi Zero software. So we're going to walk through that, and there's a few things you're going to want to be aware of, and it's very dependent on how fast this occurs based on your internet speed, because you'll be downloading some data. And because of that, you're going to want a good internet connection to do it. So if you're on a jetpack doing this from your RV and you have a slow speed, be aware it will take a long time to install, but it will install. It'll just take a long time to do it. But anyways, let's when it's going through the installation process itself, I'll speed through that part of the video so I don't, sit there the whole 30 minutes or whatever it takes to do the install, because you really don't know. That's how dependent it is on your internet connection. But in any case, let's take a look at what we got to do. First and foremost, you'll be finding this page here. This is the home of the wiki on how to do it. And on the home page talks about the project itself and why the project came about and everything. And then the next thing you need to know is the parts list. And these are all the parts that you're going to need to do this. Now, there's not many parts. There's a Raspberry Pi computer. There's a charger that you're going to need anyways to charge your electric vehicle. And there's an amp meter, basically, that you'll use to monitor the power usage of your motor coach. Most importantly, however, you need a network to be inside of your RV or your motorhome. So you must have a Wi-Fi network that is yours, not the RV park's, that is running. I don't care how you get internet on that network. It can be through the RV park or whatever, but you have to be running your own local network in the RV. Okay? So you have to have your own local network. Can't stress that enough. It doesn't work without it. So, anyways, here's the list of parts that you're going to need, and all these are clickable, so you'll be able to go right to get what you want. Understand the Raspberry Pi, there's two versions. The Raspberry Pi Zero Starter Kit, which is the most economic. It's really cheap, and it's really small. That's it. That's the entire computer. It comes with everything you're going to need, the SD card, the power supply, and everything. And this is it. This is really all you need to run EV4RV. That's all you need to run it right there. Now, you can buy a Raspberry Pi 4. That's good too. It's faster. It's a bigger machine. It's a bigger box, I should say. But it's not necessary. This will get you there just fine. So in any case, and then you'll need some stuff for the charging system or the power itself. This is all the things that you'll need to do. But we're here to talk about how to get the operating system and EV4RV running on the Raspberry Pi. So let's start off with the software installation. Again, data usage is the key. We're going to be downloading like 500 megs of data. So therefore, your internet speed is going to be very dependent on how fast this process takes. You're going to take out your kit that you got from your Raspberry Pi. It's going to come with an SD card. In order to burn the operating system to the SD card, you're going to first have to download a program called Echar, which is the easiest thing to use. Just click on the link here and download the Windows version or the Mac version, whatever you're using. I'm using a MacBook Pro, by the way, so all of this that you see happening is on a MacBook Pro, not Windows. You'll also need to download Raspberry Lite, okay? So if we click on that and we open up that link, just a heads up that it'll show up multiple versions of it. I've already downloaded it to save time, but right here is the page you'll have, and what you want is this one right here, the light version. Now it says Buster Light. Buster, the word Buster will change over time based on the release of the OS. But you're looking for the light version, and you're looking for the zip download, the download zip file. So make sure that's the one you download. Now that's 434 megs right now, so that'll take a little while to download. I've already downloaded it to save time, but just make sure it's Raspberry Light. Okay? So once you downloaded Echar and installed it, and once you have your file, then you can go ahead and pop your SD card into your computer. And then after it's installed, after your SD card is in there, we're going to run Echar. Okay, so here's Echar. And I'm going to select the image of the OS and the Raspberry Light Buster. There it is right there. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And make sure, this is important, make sure you're on your SD card, because if you have multiple drives in your computer, you want to make sure you're going to be writing to that card, because whatever you're about to hit flash, whatever drive is selected is going to be overwritten by the operating system. So you don't want to select the wrong drive, that's for sure. So this is the right one, I know for sure. I'm going to hit flash. It's going to verify my password because I'm on a Mac, and it's going to start now burning the image of the operating system, the Raspberry operating system, onto the SD card. So that will take a little bit, and while it's doing that, we'll just wait, and I'll be back with you as soon as it's done flashing, and we'll continue with our install. Ta-da! It's done. Yay! Okay, so we just burned the SD card. So now what we're going to do, we're on step 7 here. We're going to remove the SD card from the computer. And then I'm going to insert it again, so it will mount the drive, and we'll see it mount right here somewhere. That's our Model X, by the way. So there's the drive right there that we just made. That's the operating system. So now the next step is we need to create 2 files to put on that drive before we do anything with it. The first file is a blank file. It's going to just be a file called SSH. So you're going to use your favorite text editor, just a text program, and it's going to be a blank file. And you're just going to save it as SSH. And no text, no nothing. So once you do that, you'll see I have one right here, and it's SSH. There's no TXT. If I open it, it's blank. There's nothing in it. Okay? And then you're going to drop that onto the boot drive, or into the boot drive. Okay? And then you're going to create another file. Now this one's not going to be blank. So here we're going to create a file called WPA whatever config. And inside of that file, we're going to copy this and paste it. So let's copy that, open up your text editor, paste it in, and then this is where you're going to put in your Wi-Fi SSID and your password for your Wi-Fi. Again, now capital, punctuation, and everything matters. So however you normally connect to your local Wi-Fi network, that's what you need to put in here. So in my particular case, it's botnet no map. And then the password you would put in, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then when you save that file, save, you're going to save it as this right there. Okay, so you're going to save it as that. So just like that. And then you're going to hit save. Okay, so once you do that, you'll have your file, which is right here. And again, make sure it doesn't have TXT at the end. Make sure that's the actual name. And then drop it into the boot drive. Okay? So now we did the SSH, the blank file, and the config file. Now what that's going to allow it to do is that's going to allow it to, when the Raspberry Pi boots up for the first time, it's going to tell it how to connect to your local network. So I'm going to go ahead now and eject or remove the SD card. There we go. And I'm going to now I'm going to just take it, and I'm going to put it into the Raspberry Pi computer, the Raspberry Pi Zero in this case. It goes right in there like that. See that? Okay. And then I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to apply power. It runs off a USB, by the way. The power supply does come with it. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and it's going to boot up. So now you need to figure out the IP address. So make sure we're on the network that we use. Make sure you're on your Wi-Fi network, which is what you would be, and then the easiest way is to go to your router and look up what the IP address the router assigned to the Raspberry Pi host, or the Raspberry Pi computer. So in my particular case, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in to my router here real quick, and I'm going to go to my clients, and I'm going to wait for to see it show up. Oh, there it is right there. It showed up, and it showed up as IP address is what I'm looking for is 232. So you want to write that down. Make sure you write it down. Very important, because you're going to need that IP address for everything else. The IP address of the Raspberry Pi is the most important IP address for the EV4RV to work. So make sure you write down the IP address that your system assigned to it. Okay? Got it? Okay, so that's good. So I now have my IP address. So, once everything is booting up and everything and the system is ready, then what we're going to do is we're going to log in to it. We're going to log in and do the update to the operating system, and then we're going to install the EV4RV software, and basically you're going to be done at that point. So now you're going to need a terminal program, either PuTTY or in Mac it comes with a terminal. And in this particular case, here's mine. And what we're going to do is very simply, again, once you know the IP address, which is what 13 is talking about here, we're going to SSH into the Raspberry Pi. So that's what we're going to do. So in this particular case, what I'm going to type is SSH pi at, and then the IP address of the Pi, 192.168.1.232. Okay, whatever your IP address is, that's what you'll be putting in. Okay, hit enter. That's going to ask if you want to go ahead and establish this, and are you sure you want to continue? You're going to type yes and hit enter. And then it's going to ask you for the password. The default password for the Raspberry Pi is Raspberry. So just go ahead and put that in there, and that will connect you. And now you can see we are now in the Raspberry Pi system. We are connected to it and talking to it. So now, once we're there, and we're connected, let's see here, all the way down. Now we're all the way down to step 17 because we're connected. Now we're going to upgrade the system. So you're going to copy this line right here, copy, and you're going to paste that right into there. And then you're going to hit enter. Now this is where it's going to take some time. It's going to go out on the internet, and it's going to bring down some software packages and update them and stuff like that. So this will take some time to do. And then the next step will also take time. So this is your time-consuming part that I talked about earlier, where you're only as good as your internet connection is. And then we just wait for the installation process to occur and to take place. And you'll see it doing its thing. As you can see in the window here, it's doing its thing. And when it's done, it'll be back to the same prompt. It'll be back to this prompt right here. And that's how you know it's done. And then you can move on with the next step. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to wait for this to finish its thing. And then we'll move on to the next step, which is going to be right here, the actual install of the EV4RV software, which it's going to download a bunch of stuff. We use NodeRed for programming, so it has to download the complete NodeRed package and install it all, and then download the code and install that. And once it's done, we will have a running Raspberry Pi Zero, and you'll be able to continue with your hardware install of your amp meter and then your open EVSE charger for your car. But right now, we're going to go ahead and let this process continue to play out, and then we'll do the next step as soon as this is done. So I'll be back with you. Okay, so we're back to the command prompt, as you can see. Boom, boom, boom. Like, we're back at the command prompt. And now we come up here, and it says you're going to copy and paste the following after, and you're going to press enter after each line. So that means do this line first, copy, and then we're going to paste that into there and hit enter. It's going to bring down a couple things. That's that. As quick as easy. You can see we're back at the command prompt. Then you're going to do this command here, copy, paste it into here. Okay, done. And now this is the longer process. This is the actual install of the software, which will go out and download the NodeRed software that's required, the operating system for it, and then the EV4RV software, and then it's going to configure the interface, and then you'll be done. But anyways, so again, so highlight this, copy it, and paste it into here, and press enter. So there it goes. This is going to be actually your longest process. Okay, this will be your longest process. So again, I'll be back with you as soon as all of this part is done. Now this screen will change. As soon as it starts to do the NodeRed install, the screen will actually change, and you'll see checkboxes being checked off as things are installed. And then when it's done doing that, it'll go through and have to configure some stuff at the end, and then finally we'll get a command prompt after that. So right now it's bringing everything down from the internet, and then you'll see it start the install. So this screen will change to the install screen. And checkboxes will happen as things are installed, and then it'll finish up, and then we'll be off and running again. So we'll just let this go. Here's that screen I was talking about as it installs the NodeRed operating system, which is the platform that we use to actually do the programming work for EV4RV. So pretty cool that we'll just let this continue on. Everything is going as planned, and as soon as this is done, you'll see it then start to configure the actual interface itself. And then at that point, you'll be able to open up the interface for the first time and see that it actually installed and is running correctly. So we're just going to let this continue with this installation process at this point, and I'll be back as soon as that's done. Understand, yeah, this does take time to install for the first time, but you only have to do this once. That is, unless your SD card crashes and then you got to do it again. But for the most part, you're only going to have to do this once. After this is all done and everything is running properly and all that, I would then find a way to back up or create an image copy of the SD card, basically a backup image, and then have that on file. So in case the SD card ever fails or anything, you can get a new SD card. Another 16 gig card is what this comes with. Pop it in your computer and then use Echar and basically just write it right back to the SD card, pop it back in, and you're up and running again. Then you don't have to go through this entire process again. So my recommendation is once everything is running and everything is good, shut down the Pi, take the SD card out, and back up by making an image file of the SD card. And then you'll have that as a backup in case needed in the future. You just use Echar, burn it right back to a new SD card, and you're back up and running. Okay, we're going to let the software continue now. So, at this point, you may think you're frozen, nothing's happening. Trust me, something's happening in the background. It just doesn't show it. See, it just moved on. So don't worry, don't panic. Things are still going on. It's only if it been like this for a couple hours that you got to worry. So we're still good. Everything's moving along. And this one goes out to Michael. Menem 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 everybody, EV. Okay, that was fun. Again, it's not frozen. It is doing stuff in the background. It's just taking its time to get things done because it is a little Raspberry Pi computer after all. It's not like a supercomputer, so it will take time to do the install of this stuff. Again, you only got to do it once. So once it's done, I do again recommend doing a backup of the image, making an image of the card itself, and then if you ever need to, you can use Echar to quickly restore that image to an SD card in the future. But in any case, back to the install. Okay, here it is. Now we're finally getting to just configuring the EV4RV software itself. Everything else has been done in the background, and it's just doing its finishing touches, and we're going to be good to go soon. So hang in there. Yes, we're done. Totally finished. Look at that. Back to the command prompt. Exactly what we wanted. So what does that mean? That means we now have a completely installed version of the operating system, NodeRed, and most importantly, EV4RV. And how do we know it? Well, remember that IP address of the Raspberry Pi? All you need to do now is type that in. Let me just open up a browser. Look. Ta-da! There it is. EV4RV is open and running and waiting for data to be sent to it from the amp meter and from the EV charger. Right now, there's no response or anything like that because those components have not yet been installed. And that would be the next step, which I'm not going to go through. I only wanted to do the install. But in here, you got your menu over here. You got graphs, which will show you the power used by the coach, the power allowed by the EVSE to be used. And this is an updating graph that you'll be able to look at for power statistics. And in here, you got system settings. You can update, check for EV, like if the new rollout of EV4RV comes out, you won't have to go through all that again. You'll just be able to check for an update here, checking for upgrade, please wait, and tells you you're up to date, which it should be because we just did it. But if it wasn't, we would then apply the update. And then here over here, this is how you would shut down safely your Raspberry Pi or reboot it if you need to, for whatever reason. And those are right there in there. And then you also have your log screen. The log screen is where you'll see messages like whenever it gets an update from the amp meter and stuff like that, it'll show up in here so you know everything is working properly. But for the most part, you'll know everything is working properly when you see this screen updating with current information. But other than that, that's it. We now have EV4RV fully installed on a Raspberry Pi Zero. Congratulations, you did it! I knew you can do it! Yes! Any case, I'm Dave Bott from Outside Our Bubble. I want to send a big special thank you out to Michael Kidd for producing the code to do this and working on this project. It's always a pleasure to work with Michael, and I'm glad that I was able to do this walkthrough for you all, and I hope it helped some of you give you a better indication of what you're going to go through in order to get EV4RV up and running. It really is great. So if you ever wanted a Tesla or some other EV, now's your chance. You can do it. You can charge it from the same pedestal. Thanks again. Take care. Keep safe. And if you like what we do, please click subscribe. Other than that, I'm out of here. Take care. Keep safe. Bye.